Today on Notsam Wrestling, The Rock is back. Jimmy Uso is back. Kevin Owens has turned on Cody Rhodes. AEW has a new TV deal. What's next for CM Punk and Drew McIntyre and so much more? This is Not Sam Wrestling. Welcome to Not Sam Wrestling. And it's all, as Kate Hudson said in Almost Famous, it's all happening. Yes. The final boss returns. Bad Blood is in the books. NXT is on the CW. AEW's television future is announced. So much. I mean, we just this week we did an emergency after show for the NXT on the CW debut. Myself and Megan Morant, who also did an emergency feelings podcast right after Bad Blood, because there was so much going on at Bad Blood. We had to talk about it, but now there's been time for analysis. Now there's time to have a serious conversation, not just a feelings-based conversation. But let's talk, okay? To me, every great story is told in 3 acts. And I think that the third act and there's micro stories and macro stories. Macro stories are the big stories, the story from beginning to end. If you're talking about the mega powers colliding, that Mega Powers colliding story, the macro story lasts from WrestleMania 4 all the way to WrestleMania 5. But on the way there, every incident is a little story. You know, the Saturday night's main event where Macho and Hogan finally blew up because of Miss Elizabeth and everything, that's a micro story, which also has 3 acts. When we're talking about the story of the main event of Bad Blood, the third act, to me, starts with Cody Rhodes perched upon the top rope. The last 10 minutes of the Bad Blood Premium Live event was the third act of that story, Saturday night story of Cody and Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. And that story is, so Jacob is laid out on the table now. And getting us there to conclude Act 2, the commentators have made it clear that Jacob will not be put down. What does Cody Rhodes have to do to stop Jacob Fatu? You could read it all over Cody Rhodes' face. What do I have to do to stop this guy? And then he goes, well, what has he done to stop people? And he realizes what he must do, something we really don't see Cody Rhodes do. And he gets Jacob Fatu in a prone position on the commentary table, and Cody Rhodes climbs that top rope, and this is where our story begins. Cody Rhodes looks at Roman Reigns and gives him the salute, as if to say, I'm not doing this just to win. I'm not doing this just because I want to take out Jacob. I'm doing this for us. I'm doing this for you. Just know, after this moment, you won't have to worry about Jacob Fatu. All you have to do is take care of Solo. See ya! And jumps into the air, comes crashing down to the table on the outside of the ring, and Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu are now out of this match. It's boiled down to what is essentially Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. And they go back and forth a little bit. Roman Reigns catches the advantage, hits Solo Sikoa with that Superman punch, and we get ready for that spear. And before Roman can execute the spear, here come the Tongans. The Tongans run to the ring. Roman goes to stop them. They don't interfere in the match, but it's enough of a distraction to stop the flow of events, which were clearly leading to Roman Reigns getting a victory. This is right out of the Bloodlines playbook. This is a play that Roman Reigns wrote. As quarterback of the original Bloodline, this is his play, and Solo Sikoa has successfully executed it against Roman Reigns. So now Solo Sikoa is able to get advantage over Roman Reigns. And the physicality continues. The Tongans are on the outside of the ring, and Solo Sikoa is on the inside of the ring, and he's beating up Roman Reigns. And as has been the way the story of the Bloodline has been told, Solo Sikoa is telling Roman Reigns and all of us what his motivation has been since the Friday night after WrestleMania, when he turned on Jimmy and he took over the Bloodline. As he's beating down Roman Reigns, he's repeating to him, you lied to me. You said I was the next tribal chief. You said I was next in line. He said that Roman Reigns losing should have clearly meant that he was stepping down, and Roman Reigns said he was a man of his word. Roman Reigns said he was gone. He said in his A&E biography, if I don't have this WWE Championship, I'm not here. He said if I lose to Cody Rhodes, I'm out of here. And he did leave. But he wasn't ready. And Solo wasn't ready. But Solo's issue is you said I was. You stood in that ring. And whether it was to get under Jey Uso's skin, whether it was to get under Jimmy Uso's skin, whether it was a manipulation, whatever it was, you said I, Solo Sikoa, was next in line. And I'm here to have my throne as the head of the table, and you're not giving it to me. It's an incredible succession story. And we're hearing it all laid out that now, any bravado gets stripped away. And this is the raw emotion of what Solo Sikoa's motivation has been from the beginning. And as Solo Sikoa has put Roman Reigns into the mat, explaining to him why, he looks up, and all of a sudden, we didn't see him enter as if it were an apparition. A black hooded figure with a bandana around the lower 3/4 of his face is standing behind the Tongans. Something right out of the Bloodline playbook. But this time, Solo didn't call that play. And the Tongans turn around and they realize he's not with us. Whoever this is, he's not with us. And the audience isn't 100% sure who it is, but they know it's something cool. Some of them were chanting yeet, who knows? And then boom, super kick to Tama Tonga. Boom, super kick to Tonga Loa. And that's when the hood comes down and he doesn't even have to pull the bandana down for everybody to start going crazy because we see those braids in his hair. And we see that Jimmy is back and Jimmy pulls down the bandana and he's smiling, that wild smile at Solo Sikoa, his younger brother. And Solo Sikoa can't believe what he's seeing. And that's when Roman Reigns, boom, hits Solo with that spear or Superman punch or whatever it was, pins Solo Sikoa 1, 2, 3. Jimmy Uso gets back in the ring. Roman Reigns, importantly, looks surprised to see Jimmy Uso. He didn't expect this. And then embraces Jimmy Uso because, the old Roman Reigns, you never knew exactly where he was going to land. The old Roman Reigns, if he didn't call the play, whether it was successful or not, he would get very, very upset. This Roman Reigns, though, a little more level-headed, has been humbled a little bit, realizes that maybe it's important to have help, and maybe it's important to appreciate when you have help. And Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso embrace. I mean, the crowd went nuts for Jimmy Uso's appearance. The crowd went nuts for the Jimmy Uso-Roman Reigns embrace. That's how powerful this bloodline story has been. That not only does Roman Reigns come out on the other side of the longest WWE title reign in the modern era, holding that title hostage, frustrating so many fans. Not only does he come out of it a top babyface, but the entire original bloodline, due to the fact that Solo Sikoa has been so hateable, due to the fact that everybody has said, oh, Solo's not the same. Oh, I hate Solo. Oh, Solo's not like Roman. Solo shouldn't be in this role. Solo shouldn't be the tribal chief. And we've all gotten confused. We're not even living in this world of storyline. We're literally sitting here going like, no, this bloodline is whack. Solo Sikoa is not the guy. Which is the point. That's why we can now cheer Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, the idea of Jey Uso coming back into the fold, the idea of Sami's, like now we've got a full babyface bloodline faction. And they're just as popular as good guys as they were hated as bad guys, which is incredible. I don't know that that's ever happened for an entire faction the way we're seeing it happen with the bloodline. So Roman Reigns and Jimmy are still in the ring. Cody, they look across the ring and Cody is in the corner holding the WWE Championship. And of course, that's what means the world to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns needs to put Solo Sikoa down, so there's no question as to who's the tribal chief of their family. But as I said throughout the years in this bloodline story, in order to truly be the tribal chief, in order to truly be the top dog in the industry, you've got to be the WWE champion. You can't take the title away from Roman Reigns, because some people are saying that. Oh, still have Roman Reigns main event. He could do all the same stuff, just do it over the tribal chief and let the belt exist elsewhere. It doesn't work that way. It's one and the same. You can't call yourself the tribal chief unless you're the WWE champion. Because if you do that, you're Solo Sikoa. You're not Roman Reigns. Getting the Ulafala off the neck of Solo Sikoa is an appetizer on the way to the WWE Championship, because you can wear that Ulafala, but all that means is you're the top guy in your family, not in the industry. And that's what Roman is looking at when he looks at that championship that Cody Rhodes is holding. Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, they stare down. They're several feet apart from each other. Roman Reigns gives him the nod of respect, which some people will say has happened before. I believe it has not happened before. I believe that was the first time the nod of acknowledgement was an acknowledgement of respect. I'm not saying it's the first time he's ever nodded, but if we analyze the nod, that was the first time it was, yep, I respect you. Key point here, they did not shake hands. Roman nodded, Jimmy went, okay, they left the ring. No hostility, no, I'm going to attack you, but I am coming for my title still, and we're not shaking hands because we're not those guys. This is key. Everything counts. Cody Rhodes was on Pat McAfee's show leading up to Bad Blood on maybe Thursday. And Cody said, Thursday or Friday, and Cody said in that interview, Pat said, you guys went to the Georgia Tech football field and you shook hands. Cody said, we did not shake hands. We agreed to have each other's back, but we never shook hands. They didn't shake hands on their way to this tag team match. They agreed, they didn't shake hands. They didn't shake hands after this tag team match. There was a sign of mutual respect, but they did not shake hands. I believe that is entirely intentional and crucial to this whole thing. And if there is a shaking of the hands, that will be a moment in and of itself. Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso are now leaving the ring, and Jimmy Uso is telling Roman Reigns, you did your thing. You did your thing, but are you all right? You all right? You all right? You're the OTC. You did your thing. I wish I had a Jimmy Uso around me. That's how I try to get Hot Dog, my producer, to talk. He never does. Instead of Hot Dog walking with me going, man, Sam, you did your thing. That was great. That was great. He goes, did you see my footage? How great was my footage? Did you see my footage? How great was my... It's a totally different vibe. But Jimmy's sitting there going, you did your thing. You did your thing. And then behind them, you see it. It's so beautifully shot. This whole last 10 minutes was shot like a movie. I mean, frame for frame. It felt like it. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody storyboarded this thing. If Paul Heyman was looking at storyboards to figure out how this whole sequence should be shot. From the Solo finding Jimmy Uso behind the Tongans to this part where Jimmy and Roman are in the aisleway and we're with them in the aisleway and we can see behind their back. The bloodline has swarmed the ring like hyenas in The Lion King and are attacking Mufasa, Cody Rhodes. And just as Jacob Fatu is ascending to the top rope, Jimmy says to Roman, hey, you gave your word. You gave Cody your word that you would have his back. You the OTC, he says. I'm with you. I'm with you. So he says to Roman, you should go help him because you gave him your word. But ultimately, that's your call, and I'm with you regardless because you're the OTC. And what does Roman do? Proves his character, is a man of his word, takes a moment to define who that character is right now, and goes to the ring. Jimmy Uso swipes Jacob's leg, knocks him right off the top rope. Jimmy, Roman, and Cody take out the new bloodline, and as the bloodline retreats, Roman, Jimmy, and Cody are in the ring, and that's when, if you smell what the Rock is cooking. That's 3 endings to this show now. The first ending was Roman and Jimmy walking out after winning the match. The second ending was Roman, Jimmy, and Cody together in the ring after taking out the bloodline. The third ending was the ending that we actually got. It's like that movie Clue. And The Rock appears, and as soon as the music hits, Roman looks confused. He instantly reacts because he's a top-tier performer, and he looks confused, like he didn't see this one coming. And The Rock appears. Jimmy, Roman, and Cody are now looking on. We know where Cody stands. We don't know where Roman and Jimmy stand. Last time we saw The Rock, Roman, Jimmy, and The Rock were all on the same side. Unfortunately, for all three of them, by night 2, it was the losing side. Keep in mind, Rock pinned Cody on night 1. Cody pinned Roman on night 2 of WrestleMania 40. So Rock shows up, and the camera's just on him, staring at his face. And then it goes to Cody Rhodes, who's looking at The Rock. And it's almost like in this moment, to go from a tight shot of The Rock to a tight shot of Cody Rhodes, you go, this is what they're setting up. Rock's eyebrow goes up. Now it goes from Rock to Cody, back to Rock to Roman Reigns. And you go, wait a minute. What are they setting up? We go to a shot of the new bloodline, all 4 of them, Jacob, Solo, Tonga. And they're in the crowd. They're retreating, but they're looking on. And it's not sure if as they're looking on, are they looking on to see what The Rock is doing? Are they looking on in fear of The Rock? Are they in on this or are they not in on this? Is The Rock on their side or is he not? If The Rock is on their side, did they know he was coming or did the boss just show up? If The Rock isn't on their side, do they feel like they're in trouble with The Rock? There's a lot to try to figure out. And then The Rock raises his hand in the air, and at first he extends the one finger, right? And you go, oh, he's showing the bloodline love, and then he goes 2, and then 3. And he puts his hand down, slowly. The music hits again, and then he goes, huh, makes a throat-cutting gesture before he turns around and walks out. And Roman and Cody and Jimmy are left in the ring trying to figure out what exactly is next and what is next. In that moment, we're trying to figure it out ourselves. I'm going, wow, 1, 2, 3 means something. The throat-cutting gesture means something. At first, it seemed like he was cueing his music, right? And then you go, well, there's 2 possibilities, right? Is he saying 1, 2, 3, triple threat WrestleMania? Maybe. And whether he's saying that or not, could there be a triple threat at WrestleMania? Sure, there could be. I've gone over many times what to do with the Royal Rumble in terms of finding opponents for people at WrestleMania. Because at WrestleMania, I'd like to see John Cena face Gunther. I believe Cody Rhodes versus Rock is the match that was made. I would prefer to see John Cena win the Elimination Chamber and lose the Royal Rumble. So if that would be my preference, do I have The Rock enter the Royal Rumble? I don't think The Rock is going to enter the Royal Rumble. However, I believe Roman Reigns could enter the Royal Rumble. And if Roman Reigns enters the Royal Rumble and wins the Royal Rumble, what happens if The Rock decides to do to Roman Reigns what he did to Cody Rhodes, an attempt to steal that match away from him, but this time he's not willing to step aside the way he was at WrestleMania 40. And when all the powers realize what's going on here, we end up with the triple threat. Roman, Cody, Rock, WrestleMania. Maybe Rock takes out Jimmy on the way to WrestleMania. Maybe Rock has to take out Jay. Maybe, who knows? But ultimately, Roman Reigns can win the Royal Rumble. The Rock can get himself in the main event of WrestleMania. And night 2 of WrestleMania is that way main evented with Cody Rhodes defending his title against The Rock and Roman Reigns. And all 3 within that triple threat have problems with each other. John Cena can try to figure out what's next, because trying to figure out what's next, John Cena is one of my favorite John Cenas. And that's the John Cena that goes into the Elimination Chamber, wins the Elimination Chamber, and now, assuming Gunther is still champion, you've got a potential night one main event of John Cena trying to get his record-breaking championship by beating the unbeatable Gunther for that title. I'm just saying it's an idea. Now, there was some clarification, because the show didn't end. You know, Bad Blood ended at 9:30, which is very early, Eastern time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, which is very early for a WWE pay-per-view. But it didn't end there, because we got a Rock social media promo. And we forgot, or I forgot, how epic these things were. I forgot how important these were to the initial run of the Final Boss. We follow the Final Boss as he exits his appearance at Bad Blood. And The Rock walks through, and the Final Boss has his Versace vest on, his very expensive sunglasses on. He's got the People's Championship title on his shoulder, which, by the way, has the Just Bring It hand on the buckle, if you look at the buckle of it. It's so cool. I wonder if we'll get replicas by WrestleMania. And he's walking through, and he's fist bumping the staff that works in the building. Are you fans of The Rock? And he says, why is the Final Boss back? How does the Final Boss feel? The Final Boss has noticed that a bunch of BS, and he says the BS word, has happened here in the last 6 months. And he says that the people want to know how the Final Boss feels about everything that's happened here in the last 6 months. Well, you're going to find out how the Final Boss feels about it when the Final Boss is ready to tell you. Or, no. When the Final Boss is ready for you to know. Which is similar to what he said to Cody Rhodes the night after WrestleMania. When it's time, the Final Boss chooses when it's time. But just know, the Final Boss is not happy about what's going on in the ring. However, tonight he's happy. He goes through the production truck. Shouts out Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's my guy. Shouts out Dusty Rhodes. That's my hero. He says, I love you. I hate your son. Looks at the John Cena. He says, go have some Fruity Pebbles. Makes you wonder. Everything counts. Everything counts on two levels. Number one, everything counts because he hasn't forgotten about Twice in a Lifetime. Number two, everything counts because John Cena is going to be back in 2025. Gives us the opportunity for thrice in a lifetime. He shouts that word that we all need to hear. Mana! And then he gets in his truck while he's listening to ZZ Top, because nobody drives the Final Boss. The Final Boss drives himself. And he pulls out in that pickup truck. And look, I think the most valuable part of this was hearing The Rock's voice, hearing the Final Boss's voice, letting us know. And he said he didn't have to say anything. He put up the one. He said he looked at Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and Jimmy in the ring. He shouted those three out with a look of contempt. And said all he had to do was put up the three and cut his throat. So he is saying, he clarified in that promo, he is not happy with what he sees with Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and Jimmy Uso. And I would have to imagine he hates Cody Rhodes. And he still thinks Cody Rhodes took away the greatest WrestleMania match that the fans could ever have. And remember, when we were breaking that match down, the reason that it was the greatest WrestleMania match the fans could ever have was it was revolving around the Samoan dynasty. It was revolving around the family of The Rock and Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has not changed all the way, but there are subtleties that have changed. Rock hasn't changed at all. The Final Boss hasn't changed at all. The Final Boss believes what is good for his family is good for everybody. So just buckle up and deal with it. And the Final Boss sees Roman Reigns cavorting with the likes of Cody Rhodes, who ruined it for their whole family, instead of falling in line with somebody like Solo Sikoa, who is still on paper, forgive the pun, fighting for their family. Even though The Rock's movie was Fighting With My Family, I believe. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was something like that. And I think that we get clarification. Look, I think that we also, the line about the final boss will tell you when the final boss is ready for you to know was crucial to this story as well, because I don't think the final boss is going to be on Raw. I don't think the final boss is going to be on SmackDown. I don't think the final boss is going to be at Crown Jewel. I don't even think the final boss is going to be at Survivor Series. I think the final boss goes away once again. I think the final boss just popped in to let everybody know. I'm like Santa Claus, baby. I see you when you're sleeping. I know when you're awake. I know if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. That's what the final boss was letting everybody know. I'm going to pop in. I'm going to be that October surprise. And I'm going to disappear again. And maybe you'll see me again in January. If I had to make a bold prediction, me personally, thoughts, opinions, I don't think we see the final boss again until January 6th on Netflix. And that's when we strap in, put the pedal to the metal, and part 2 of the incredible saga of the final boss that was started on January 1st of this year kicks off once more. But the final boss promo was not the only thing that we saw on this post-show. No, because if you were watching the press conference, Triple H announced at the press conference in a kind of shady way, sorry, Cody Rhodes, sorry for the delay. I was back there. Cody Rhodes couldn't make it out tonight. And he just kept it moving. And I said, everything counts. And we even talked about this in the emergency podcast that I did with Megan. I said, everything counts. So maybe there was some politics with The Rock. Maybe that's what that's all about. Maybe Cody Rhodes is upset about The Rock. Maybe The Rock doesn't want Cody Rhodes on the press conference. He told Triple H not to have him out. Something. What I didn't know is everything certainly counts, but I didn't have all the details. Because as Megan and I were doing that emergency podcast at the very end, I go, whoa. Kevin Owens just turned heel on Cody Rhodes. So this is a genius move. Last night after the pay-per-view, and I don't know if they shot this and they'll play it back on TV or if they didn't shoot it at all and they're just going to use cell phone cameras. I think they should just use cell phone cameras. But there was no official footage of this released by WWE channels. Only videos that ended up on Twitter accounts. In the loading dock area, the parking lot area where the talent parks, where you see all the buses, all the production trucks, and this area happened to be in a spot where some buildings are like this. Fans can look over and look into the loading dock area and kind of yell down and everything. A lot of buildings are built like that. So all the fans, especially because it was an early show, it's Saturday night, it's 9 o'clock. All the fans are hanging out, kind of watching all the superstars leave and like shouting down, like, we love you. You could even hear it in The Rock's promo. They're yelling down at The Rock as The Rock is pulling away in his truck. Well, what we get is this cell phone footage of Kevin Owens approaching Cody Rhodes. And there is a hostile tone. I looked through multiple videos because there are multiple videos. One that's pretty close up. There's one from way high up. There's, multiple angles. I haven't found one yet as of press time that I can make out the words that are being said. But you can kind of guess, right? There's some, and what's interesting is Kevin Owens has the same problem with Cody Rhodes that The Rock has with Roman Reigns. The Rock hasn't had his opinion changed at all. Because The Rock solidified his opinion leading into WrestleMania 40 and at WrestleMania 40 and then went away. And then he comes back and it's like, what are you guys doing? Kevin Owens, well, I don't know if I need to tell you this. Kevin Owens watches the product. Kevin Owens follows rule number 1 of Notsam Wrestling. He watches the show. And so he knows, he's like, Cody, why are you teaming with Roman Reigns? He's a hideous human being. This is Kevin Owens' opinion, not mine. We've always been in support of our OTC. So, hideous human being, he says. Or, implies. So whatever, they have this hostile sort of body language conversation, and it looks like Cody is trying to calm down Kevin Owens. But Kevin Owens is not in any mood to be calmed down. Kevin Owens starts poking Cody Rhodes in the chest. And Cody goes, okay, what are we doing now? Your hands are on me. What are we doing now? And all of a sudden, Kevin just levels Cody with a shot. And he grabs him by the back of his like hoodie. And he starts like pounding on him. And it's in a little different way than like wrestling punches and wrestling kicks. Because he's holding his shirt. Like it looks a little more like a real fight. Like a parking lot fight. Which is great for what it is. And Kevin Owens is punching and kicking down Cody Rhodes. And then security comes in and breaks it out. And Kevin Owens, as if you go, well, maybe Kevin Owens just got frustrated. Maybe Kevin Owens isn't really a villain just yet. Well, Kevin Owens gets into a Lamborghini and peels off. You mean to tell me Kevin Owens is getting into a Lamborghini because he's a good guy? I've never seen a hero peel off after beating up somebody like Cody Rhodes in a Lamborghini. It's the most villainous thing I've ever seen in my life. So Kevin Owens officially turns on Cody Rhodes. No official statements from WWE, no official release of the video, no official, here's Triple H, he's going to comment on it. And I would imagine that's something that's going to have to wait all the way until Friday. Maybe they'll say on Raw there was an incident in the parking lot. It's amazing because Bad Blood really did change everything. Because Raw is going to have enough to deal with everything that happened with the Judgment Day, Liv retaining her title via awkward disqualification stuff, but Finn Balor being beaten fair and square, regardless of distractions from the Judgment Day by Damian Priest. The Hell in a Cell match that we're going to talk about in a minute, they've got enough to deal with. But now, it's the first time WWE is on television since, number one, we got some words from The Rock kind of talking about what he was doing. And number two, the WWE champion was attacked in the parking lot by another member of the roster who it has been made clear is great friends with Cody Rhodes. But from Kevin Owens' perspective, it's like, dude, I could have won, because in his mind, this is true. Who knows if it is or not? Kevin Owens, in his mind, could have won the WWE championship if he had had that killer instinct that he's had in the past. Kevin Owens could be the WWE champion right now in his mind. But instead, Cody Rhodes is gallivanting with Roman Reigns and The Rock. Meanwhile, it's like, why did I do all this? Why did I sacrifice what I was doing, so and not take full advantage of you because I consider you a friend if you're going to turn around and hang out with both of ours worst enemy, or so I thought. And I think that Kevin Owens is now able to completely turn heel without ever losing an inch of perspective. That Kevin Owens would be able to tell you that story. Here's why I beat up Cody Rhodes, because Cody changed. I didn't change. Cody changed. And now when we get to that eventual Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens match, the story is that Kevin would have beaten Cody Rhodes if he had used every tool in his arsenal. If he had used every weapon, Kevin Owens believes he would have won. If Kevin Owens had taken advantage of Cody's knee when he had the chance, Kevin Owens would have won. If Kevin Owens would have dropped Cody and powerbombed him on that apron that he wanted to do, and he's done many times before, Kevin Owens would have won, but he didn't, and he lost. So what happens now when we eventually get to Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens? Except Kevin isn't taking it easy on Cody. Kevin is willing to do the things that he should have done the last time. Kevin Owens could make the argument that he will be WWE champion. Because Kevin can see it too, right? Kevin can say, look, whether I like you or not, I see what you're going to do. You're going to get involved with the bloodline. You're going to give Roman Reigns a title shot. You're going to give The Rock a title shot. You're going to mess this up for all of us. So I'm going to go ahead and need to take the WWE championship away from you because you don't know how to use the thing, is Kevin Owens' perspective. And of course, Cody Rhodes said, if that's how you feel, bro, if that's how you feel, cross the line. Let's go. I'm going to defend my title. But it'll be interesting to see when it happens. Now, look, based on everything that we've seen, based on every piece of information presented at Bad Blood, I believe War Games this year will be Bloodline versus Bloodline. And I know we've created different scenarios for it, but today, coming off of Bad Blood, I fully believe War Games will be Bloodline versus Bloodline. Multiple reasons why. Number one, Jimmy Uso is back and on the side of Roman Reigns. So they are, the families, back together. So now it's like, and you could say, well, what if it's 5 of them? What if The Rock gets in there? And what if it's Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton? Well, 2 things. Number one, Kevin Owens ain't going to team with them because Kevin Owens just turned on Cody Rhodes. And even if Kevin Owens were to turn back babyface, the whole reason Kevin Owens turned on Cody Rhodes was his association with Roman Reigns. So Kevin Owens is not going to have an association with Roman Reigns. Number 2, we need a Kevin Owens-Cody Rhodes match at some point. Triple H at the press conference last night ran down the big shows coming up. We've got Crown Jewel, we've got Survivor Series, we've got Saturday night's main event. I believe Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens will be your Survivor Series match. The reason is we can't do it at Crown Jewel because it was announced at Bad Blood that at Crown Jewel was now going to become a place where every year at Crown Jewel, the Crown Jewel champion would be crowned. And they're going to make the biggest belt you've ever seen in your life. It's going to go from chest all the way to groin. That's how big this belt is. Chest to groin. And it's going to be on the men's side and the women's side, the WWE champion versus the world champion. So I believe, unless something catastrophic happens, I fully believe that the match at Crown Jewel is Gunther versus Cody Rhodes. I believe that Gunther will win that match because Kevin Owens will get involved. I believe it will leave Gunther in a position to truly, proclaim himself as the greatest of the greats and run roughshod over Monday Night Raw and maybe move on to CM Punk after Crown Jewel. And then Cody Rhodes moves on to a villainous Kevin Owens because we can't do it at Crown Jewel anyway. So why not use Crown Jewel as a piece to get there? Cody Rhodes occupied at Crown Jewel. But that leaves Survivor Series potentially with a War Games that's Bloodline versus Bloodline, with CM Punk versus Gunther, with Gunther being, Crown Jewel champion of champions. Not that he's going to defend the Crown Jewel title, but just the fact that his World Heavyweight Championships have been so solidified that he beat Cody Rhodes as well. So if you have Bloodline versus Bloodline, Gunther versus Punk, and Cody versus heel KO, talk about an extravaganza. The Thanksgiving tradition is back, baby. That's the type of card that you start building Survivor Series up with. And not only are you going to set another arena gate record, but you're going to end up putting Survivor Series in a stadium before all is said and done if you keep coming up with cards like the one that I just described. Not to say that that's at all announced. I just speculated wildly on the whole thing. But that has to be where I see it going. And again, I see it going the same way I've been saying it on this podcast for months. Kevin Owens turns first. KO versus Cody is your rivalry. Randy Orton does not turn. Randy Orton does not turn until Cody beats KO. Then Randy turns on Cody. And this is where Cody has the realization that he has no friends. And that at least Roman Reigns is honest. Roman Reigns might not be his friend, but at least he's honest. I think you've got... And then that way you can go to Saturday night's main event, either with a KO Cody rematch, or you could do Randy versus Cody at Saturday night's main event, and then maybe a rematch at the Rumble, if you want Randy out of the Rumble match or whatever. But that's, I've been saying this from the beginning. But I think the rest of this year is KO versus Cody and Randy versus Cody separately, spaced out. And that is the end. I mean, it's the end, I think, of us saying Cody's not telling stories, because the stories, they are being told right now. I also love, by the way, in the announcement of that Crown Jewel Championship, Gunther is just money. Money, money, money. Every time he hits a ring, touches a mic, he reminds people of his value. He just gets better and better and better. Gunther calling out Goldberg was awesome. I would love to see Gunther versus Goldberg. And, by the way, Gage is a beast. And I wouldn't be surprised if Goldberg has one more match in the WWE as a way to bring his son into the WWE, if it's something his son is at all interested in doing. Because we saw his son when he was a kid. But now, his son is a legit, solid muscle football dude. He looks like Gage Goldberg is a beast. Just sitting in the audience, he looked like a beast. And I love the idea of this time Gage being able to get in there and do some damage. I could easily see Goldberg coming back for one more match with Gunther and being willing to take the L to lose to Gunther in order to open the door for Gage to get into the WWE, almost the way, Rey Mysterio did for Dominic way back when. Now, I don't think Goldberg's going to stick around and make sure, I think Gage is going to end up doing his own thing, go down to NXT, do the whole deal, but I would think that we would benefit short term because we'd see Gunther versus Goldberg, which would rule so hard. I can't even tell you how hard that would rule. And then eventually have Gage Goldberg be a second generation, for everybody that said, oh, Goldberg's not a real wrestler. Guess what? He's a generational wrestler now. Deal with it. Hey guys, forgive the interruption, but I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, Via. If you want to chill out after a long day, there's a Via gummy for that. Dealing with anxiety or stress, there's a Via gummy for that too. Via's premium, federally legal cannabis products have got you covered. While the gummies are their most popular product, they've got flower, vapes, pre-rolls, drops, and even topicals. We've all got stressors, whether you can't sleep, whether you can't wake up. Via's got an answer with products ranging from 0 milligrams to 100 milligrams of THC. You can totally customize your experience. Via legally ships to nearly all states in the U.S. in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee. No medical card required. If you're 21 and over, check out the link to Via in the show notes and use code NOTSAM to receive 15% off. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Support the show and tell them we sent you. Notsam Wrestling. That's code NOTSAM when you click the link in the show notes to get 15% off. This fall, enhance your everyday with Via. I would love it. Speaking of things that I love, dude, the Hell in a Cell match, CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. You talk about a perfect way. It was exactly as advertised. You advertised, this is it. It's Hell in a Cell, so you can expect brutality. It's Hell in a Cell, so you can expect a Hell in a Cell classic. There are expectations attached to that structure. We are bringing this structure back. We don't have to do this. We don't have to have it in a Hell in a Cell. It's not like, oh, Drew and Punk are going to wrestle in a Hell in a Cell match because it's June. No. Drew and Punk are wrestling in a Hell in a Cell because it's the only place that this rivalry can end. And let me tell you something. This rivalry is over after this match. That's the way it was advertised. And you got to pay it off. Otherwise, people start to turn on this rivalry that we've all invested so much in. And I think it was as successful as any match could possibly hope to be. It was awesome. Blood was promised. Blood was delivered. Everything that was promised was delivered. We even hit the greatest hits. Even though the bracelet is gone, Drew McIntyre pulling out that sack. Everybody wants thumbtacks, and Drew McIntyre, heel of all heels, pours it out, and it's friendship bracelet beads. Everybody boos because they wanted thumbtacks, but also because Drew is such a mean bastard that he reminded people of that friendship bracelet that he destroyed. Puts the beads in CM Punk's mouth, goes for the Claymore, takes the nastiest missed Claymore bump I've ever seen. Spine on the edge of that set of steel stairs. And then Punk wraps the chain around his knee, hits Drew with the GTS, 1, 2, 3. Absolutely classic Hell in a Cell match. CM Punk blows my mind with how good he is right now. He should not be this good, and he is, which is, crazy. And Drew McIntyre should easily be MVP of the entire year. Both CM Punk and Drew McIntyre come out of this rivalry that has lasted the entire year 10 times better than either one of them stepped into it. Now, the question, the controversy that has been on a lot of people's mind is the statement that I made last week on this podcast, that I firmly felt that Drew McIntyre and CM Punk should main event the Hell in a Cell premium live event. And they did not. And some people had a real problem with that. Now, I believe that we can speculate based on theory, but then reevaluate based on execution. And the fact is that, yes, if it were just, if it were just Roman and Cody versus the Bloodline, and Roman and Cody win or the Bloodline win or whatever, and we don't have a bunch of returns, yes, that should have been the first match on the show, and Drew and Punk should have been in the Hell in a Cell to close it. I stand by that. You can end that pay-per-view on CM Punk standing victoriously over Drew McIntyre 10 times out of 10. However, Jimmy Uso returning throws a bit of a monkey wrench in. You still don't have to close with that, but it makes the argument more that you should, especially based on the reaction that Jimmy got. The Rock returning, come on, guys. If you're really looking at what actually happened and saying Jimmy Uso returning, leading to a show of respect between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, leading to The Rock showing up, and you don't think that should have been at the end of the show? Be reasonable. Be realistic. Of course, that should have closed the show. It wouldn't make sense to close the show with anything else. And it would have put CM Punk and Drew McIntyre in a real tough spot. Because now, instead of showing up and lighting everybody up, they're following The Rock. And you wouldn't want the final shot of that show to be CM Punk standing victoriously. And then when we jump on and do after shows, we jump on Twitter and we talk about it the next day, we go, did you see what happened in that first match? The Rock came back. You don't want that. And I do think that if it's not going to be in the main event, it should be the first match. I actually thought that the lineup was based on what happened, not based on what happened leading into the matches, but based on what happened in the matches, based on the results of the matches and what happened after them. I thought the Hell in a Cell lineup, the Bad Blood lineup was exactly as it should have been. And now we get the fun part of figuring out what's next for Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. So, obviously that rivalry is over. They will continue to hate each other forever. And I think that it will poke throughout. We're not with this. We haven't seen the end of Drew and Punk, but in terms of an active rivalry, we have seen the end. And I think now they're both going to be able to move on. I think Drew has nothing but options. There's questions as to whether maybe the rosters might move around with Raw going to 2 hours this week. Who knows? But I think there are plenty of baby faces for Drew to go after. Sami Zayn and Gunther are main eventing Raw this week. But once that's over, assuming Sami Zayn does not win the World Heavyweight Championship, maybe Drew and Sami is next. Maybe Drew decides, okay, I didn't get the world title. I'm going to go after Jey Uso in the Intercontinental title because I still hate the bloodline. Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre would be a great rivalry. There are plenty of baby faces for Drew to go after, and I would probably argue, Drew versus Damian Priest would be pretty sick. If Damian Priest is or isn't done with the bloodline, it would just be a pretty sick rivalry. Just two big bastards going at it. Drew versus Braun Strowman would be fun. It could be literally anybody, but I would argue maybe save for Gunther, and maybe including Gunther. Drew McIntyre is the biggest villain on Raw right now because of what this rivalry did for him. And I think that that's great for Drew McIntyre. In terms of CM Punk, what does CM Punk get next? Well, for the same reason that we can't do Cody versus KO at Crown Jewel, we obviously can't do Punk versus Gunther at Crown Jewel because Gunther's got Cody. So I could see CM Punk versus Gunther, as I said, being the Survivor Series match. But what before then? I think there's plenty of I think we should just find a traditional heel for CM Punk to work with before he gets to Gunther. We could go from Drew to Gunther and just have CM Punk not wrestle at Crown Jewel and go like, okay, but once you're done with this, win or lose, because you keep the World Heavyweight title, I'm coming for you. And we start telling the CM Punk story now. That's possible. But we could also do, I'd love to see, I think CM Punk versus Dominic Mysterio would be a great television storyline. I think CM Punk versus Chad Gable would be a great television storyline. It's not like this epic months and months and months long thing, but for, a few weeks leading to a pay-per-view match, I think that would be fun. Seth Rollins made his return on Monday Night Raw. Seth Rollins showed up at the end of Monday Night Raw, helping Braun Strowman defeat Bronson Reed. I take Seth Rollins out of this conversation because I think Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed are going to do their thing for a little bit. And I think, just as I think Gunther versus Punk is your Survivor Series match, I think Punk versus Rollins is your WrestleMania match this year. They put it off for a full year. They were planning on WrestleMania 40. They do it at WrestleMania 41. Here on Notsam Wrestling, we've been right a lot. And in the last couple weeks, what did we say? Last week, I said Braun Breaker's going babyface after losing the title. On Monday Night Raw, Braun Breaker went babyface. 2 weeks ago, I said Miz is going heel after his interaction with Braun Strowman. What happened on Raw? Miz went heel. CM Punk's versus The Miz would be a fun program. The Miz being a villain and going after CM Punk would be a good program. The Miz proving that he is a monster and having a competitive match with CM Punk could be great, There's a lot of things you could do, but Miz versus Punk would be a lot of fun. I brought up Dominic Mysterio, and I am a little bit concerned. And I want to put this out there right now as a plea. I'm not a prediction. A plea, not a prediction. Because I read between the lines when I watch these wrestling shows. And I like to analyze. That's what this whole show is about. And what I've noticed is that there may be more, and I said at one point recently, Liv turning on Dom to go with Finn Balor, that's not going to happen. You can't just keep doing that stuff. And I think I was speaking with my heart. Not as much my brain, more my heart. Because I've seen a couple of things. I saw on Monday Night Raw, Liv and Finn Balor on the phone discussing Judgment Day business. Not smartening the audience up to what that Judgment Day business is, and not smartening the rest of the Judgment Day, including her boyfriend Dominic Mysterio, up to what that Judgment Day business was. And I go, that's not good. Liv was even asked at the press conference, is that what that business was with Raquel? She goes, don't worry about what that business was. I go, that's not good. Then, and this is where this sent shivers down my spine because everything counts. It scared me, right? Jackie Redmond, she's Canadian, She interviewed Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio for the Countdown show on Bad Blood, which, by the way, was just hosted incredibly well. And I'm not saying that because it was me hosting it. I'm saying that because I was listening to 83 Weeks, the Eric Bischoff podcast, and Eric Bischoff couldn't stop talking about how great the Countdown show was. And I would say, in terms of programming television, wrestling television, Eric Bischoff is a pretty reliable source, right? I'm going to take Eric's word for that. I'm going to say whoever hosted that Countdown show, whoever did, was unbelievable. But that's neither here nor there. Jackie Redmond did this interview, and in the interview, first of all, there was a mention of Raquel Rodriguez. And Raquel, and they specifically, they didn't mention her, they showed her, right? But clearly everything counts, and the reason she was a part of that was because that way when she showed up at Bad Blood, anybody that watched that interview puts two and two together, everything counts, boom, here we are. We know why Raquel is helping Liv Morgan, because Raquel is the tag team partner that Liv had after Rhea Ripley turned on her, and they won the tag team championship together, I believe, twice. So, okay, everything counts. That's why Raquel's here. It was also said in that interview that Dom was very close to Finn Balor. And Jackie Ramall, she said, so you could say, Dominic, that you were closer to Finn Balor than you were even to Rhea Ripley. And Dominic said, I guess you could say that. And I went, oh, no. That feels like you're setting up the person who was closer to Dominic Mysterio than anybody, Finn Balor. Why would you establish that? Why would you establish that if you weren't going to have Finn Balor turn on Dominic? And if you're going to have Finn Balor turn on Dominic and Liv Morgan talks to Finn Balor, does that mean Liv Morgan's going to turn on Dominic too? No. And I hope I'm overthinking. I hope I'm overanalyzing. But I plead with you. I've seen the evidence. I've analyzed it. I've looked at it. Dear WWE, do not break up LivDom. We didn't think it could get better than Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio, and somehow it has. LivDom is one of the great things on television ever. Do not break up LivDom. It's the best Liv. It's the best Dom. Tendies, PlayStation, every woman I know wants to be Liv Morgan, and every man I know, including myself, wants to be Dominic Mysterio. Why? Because of the power of LivDom. WWE, I understand you may have plans in the works. Rethink them. Do not break up LivDom. Signed, a concerned customer. I wanted to make sure that was off my chest before we talk a little business. Let's talk a little business, then we'll get into emails. Talk a little business. AEW signs their new TV deal. We got AEW on television for a long time. Wonderful news for the industry. Very good news for AEW as an organization. Got a considerable chunk of change from the old Warner Brothers Discovery Company. Not only are we going to keep Dynamite and Collision on TBS and TNT, respectively. But those shows will also stream live on Max, I believe starting in January. And eventually, the pay-per-views will also be available at a discount on Max. So that'll work similarly to when UFC does pay-per-views. You have to subscribe to ESPN Plus, and then you pay for the pay-per-view on top of that. However, what they're saying is the pay-per-views won't be available exclusively on Max. So you can still get the pay-per-views on like Triller TV or ppv.com or wherever you get them. But also, if you have Max and that's how you watch the TV shows, you'll be able to get them at a discount, which we don't know what that discount is. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like whatever you're paying for Max, you get that off the pay-per-view. So if the pay-per-view is $50, you pay $20 for Max, $30 for the pay-per-view. And you get the AEW library with it. Because I believe that in time, day one, they may not have it all, but in time, I think the AEW Dynamite, like the TV library and the pay-per-view library, will also end up on Max. Which is really interesting, all those years ago, WWE launches the WWE Network. 10 years ago. 10 and change. And for all of us wrestling fans, it was a whole new world. I mean, we were Jasmine on that carpet ride. And Aladdin was showing it to us. We couldn't believe it. We wanted to give Aladdin the world after that. The WWE Network was the greatest thing ever. And it is amazing to see how it's evolved. That it really was, once again, professional wrestling setting the trend for media, where now all wrestling is streaming. And every streamer is making deals with the professional sports companies. MLS is on Apple TV. MLB is on Apple TV. NFL on Amazon, on Peacock, and on Netflix. I think NBA just signed it. Didn't they sign with Amazon, I believe, I want to say? And this has all been led the way. I mean, WWE Network was really the first to do it. And now, as these streamers are going, well, hey, if we want to get cable out of the picture, because it is getting expensive to pay for all these streaming services. And if it's going to be this expensive to pay for all these streaming services, the streaming services, for their own survival, are going to need to replace cable. It used to be you pay for cable and then you also pay a couple extra bucks and have this streaming service. It's going to need to be a scenario. It's going to be one or the other. Because it's getting to the point where if you're paying for cable, you're also doubling that bill to pay for all the services. But if these streaming services can get all the sports onto a live section of their service, well, you really don't need cable anymore. And now the streaming services, it's going to be one or the other. And I think eventually it will be the streaming services because they have everything on demand. But, they're not going to be able to succeed if you still need cable. And I think, once again, wrestling is at the forefront of that. When they're like, no, we're ready. AEW is going to be on Max. Raw is going to be on Netflix. And I think that that's going to continue to evolve and evolve and evolve. If you agree with me, email in. If you disagree with me, email in. NotSamWrestling@gmail.com. I'm sure we all have quite a bit to say coming off of an amazing Bad Blood weekend. NotSamWrestling@gmail.com is our email address. Don't forget, by the way, to subscribe to the YouTube channel. All these podcasts go up in full. And we are going to have a very special in-studio interview that you are going to love going up on the podcast feed and the Not Sam Wrestling YouTube channel on Wednesday. Yeah, you're going to absolutely love it. So make sure you're subscribed on audio and video to get it all. Let's go to Matt, who is writing in. Hi, my OPTC. Matt from Cheshire, England. I acknowledge you. I appreciate the acknowledgement, my man. Appreciate that. 2 quick questions after Bad Blood. The opening and the end matches absolutely ruled. However, the middle really struggled. I don't know if the middle struggled. Let's talk about the middle in terms of struggling. Nia and Bayley was what it was. There were definitely some spots in that match that didn't go according to plan. I had no problem at all with Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. I actually thought that was good and succinct, and it was what it should be. And then the Liv Morgan Rhea Ripley match, I think the match itself was actually pretty good. The ending was very wonky. So, but yeah, I'm with you in the sense that the first and last match is more than made up for any foibles of the middle. Do you think maybe this was intentional, given how extreme the opening was and how shocking the return of the final boss was? Perhaps Triple H thought the fans needed the energy for the main event. No, I mean, I don't think you do things on purpose. You wouldn't ever struggle on purpose, but I think there is an idea that it's like not every match is going to be like Hell in a Cell or Return of the Final Boss level. So if that's what you're asking, yes. But no, I think some things didn't go exactly as they wanted them to. Second is this a Bret Austin scenario where Drew puts on that absolute banger as the heel and it was that good that he is now going to be a face? It would be pretty hard for him to be booed after being the warrior that he was in that match. Even had a sharpshooter spot as a great nod to the classic Bret Austin moment. P.S. The Countdown show was awesome. Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate your work, as always. No, I don't think we're there yet with Drew. And the reason is that when it happened for Austin, people were begging for a chance to cheer for him. When it happened for Roman, he had put in 3.5 years of the best heel work that, I would say we've ever seen. I think there is still an appetite amongst the WWE fan base to see what's next for this villainous Drew character. I think Drew has been so good that people want to see this version of Drew continue. We've seen Drew as a babyface. It's not as compelling as this version of Drew. We're seeing the real Drew McIntyre, or at least what feels like the real Drew McIntyre. And I think fans want to still see him as the extreme villain that brings out the best in people, but is completely justified in what he's doing. I don't see a change in character coming for Drew McIntyre, personally, but that's my opinion. Good question, though. Chris writes in, I acknowledge you, my OTP. That's right. Original. And, by the way, only podcast tribal chief. Only. I love the Bad Blood PLE. My only gripe is, why did they let Rhea and Liv put on a great match only to be interrupted by Rodriguez? How does that move the story forward at all? Now Liv has the title, but the storyline is not finished. And in my opinion, we don't have a true women's champion, as Liv won it by Dirty Dom interference and now by Raquel interference. Please help me understand. Well, I think that the finish didn't go as I would have liked to have seen it, like the disqualification and everything, but I don't mind the interference. Look, I think Liv is a heel. And I think that, like, she has to win through chicanery if she's going to win. I don't think Bad Blood was the time to end this story, because I don't know what's next for Liv or Rhea if the story ends, and I think that there's still meat on that bone. I don't have a problem with Liv needing Raquel's help, and I don't think that Liv is that character, that you need to have this like display of the two greatest to ever do it, and there's a clean finish and blah, blah, blah. I think that that's part of the charm of the Liv Morgan character. I just feel, and I said this to Megan when we were doing the emergency instant reaction pod, I would have liked to have seen Liv pin Rhea due to Raquel's unexpected help, as opposed to be disqualified. You don't even have to have Dominic break out of the cage if that's the way you're going to do it. You could. I mean, it's a good spot. It was very hilarious to see Dominic hanging there and get the shots in. That's the satisfying. Yeah, because it was satisfying seeing Rhea. For people who boo Dominic, you want to see him get hit with the cane. So, yeah, Rhea hits Dominic. But then at the end, the referee trying to get Dominic out of the thing. And then, Raquel comes in and Liv's able to pin Rhea that way. I think that's the way I would have liked to have seen it go. Matt writes in, I haven't written in a while, but I have something to offer you and Megan that you missed on the Feelings show, which, by the way, is very, very possible. That's why it's an emergency podcast. That's why I preface it as being about feelings. Because when we miss things, it's because we're in our feelings. We haven't really... I've watched the last 10 minutes of Bad Blood 4 times. I didn't get the chance to do that. I watched it last night. I watched it this morning with my son. He was freaking out, jumping all over the room. And then I watched it a couple times in preparation to do the show. I didn't want to miss anything. The Rock is mad at Roman Reigns for... Oh, Matt! The Rock is mad at Roman Reigns for the same reason Kevin Owens is mad at Cody teaming up with the Enemy. Cody insulted Rock's family. Rock told the photo of Dusty on the trailer that he hates his son. Therefore, Roman teaming up with Cody is also an insult to The Rock. Simple story. Watch the product, sir. Matt, I hope that you listened to this whole episode, and I hope you were smiling ear to ear when you heard my analysis portion. Not feelings portion, but analysis portion. I see when you wrote this email. You wrote this email 15 hours after the pay-per-view ended. I recorded that show 15 minutes after the pay-per-view ended. Okay? So the smart-ass stuff, simple story, watch the product, sir. First of all, I hate people. No, I don't hate people who use. That's very mean. I hate it when people use that sir word because I feel like it's passive-aggressive. I don't like the popularization of the word sir. Sir, stop calling me sir. Sam is my name. You can call me by my name. Secondly, you saying watch the product is trying to flip my own logic on me, but you had 15 hours, I had 15 minutes. And by the way, when I was given an appropriate amount of time to analyze the product as you did, that's not a feelings email, that's an analysis email. What conclusion did I come to? Matt, I would expect an email for next week where you bow down and acknowledge your official, original, and only podcast tribal chief. Thank you very much. Acknowledge me. Let's see. Salty writes in, hey, my OTC, Sam, on the emergency pod, you said NXT fans are cut off from tables chants during the dumpster match. We got tables chants on SmackDown. Yeah, no. That's not about NXT fans. Yes, I was furious. Tables chants infuriate me. We talked about it on the emergency pod after Bad Blood. Yes, I hate it. Yes. I was very bothered by it. I didn't like it. Yes, I'm very bothered by it. Every time those chants start, no, I'm bothered by it. Know that as you're watching the show. Rob, OTC from Down Under. Okay, so I guess you're from Australia. After Bad Blood, I'm leaning more and more towards that at Mania next year we will get Rock versus Reigns for the title. After fans resented it this year, I think Rock will be will beat Cody before Mania and Reigns. Rock will beat Cody before Mania and Reigns getting the title shot, but this time with him being the face and fans getting behind it. What do you think? Well, I told you where I think it's going to go. I think Cody keeps the title. I think Rock sends in like Jacob and Solo to take the title from Cody. Maybe Jacob gets the chance to try to take the title from Cody. I don't think Kevin Owens is going to do it. I don't think Randy's going to do it. I don't think Jacob's going to do it. And then The Rock's going to have to go in and do it himself. And then Roman Reigns going to win the Royal Rumble. Triple threat. My man Avik writes in, what's the haps from London? My question is, what's next for Drew after Bad Blood? I think I went over that. Time off for a bit and then appear on SmackDown to feud with Cody. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some time off. I think Cody is a little bit busy. Drew could have a rivalry with Cody, and it'd be great. But I think Cody is busy right now. He's got Gunther, he's got Kevin Owens, and then wildly speculating Randy after that. He's got The Rock, he's got Roman Reigns. But no, I think there's stuff to do for Drew McIntyre on Raw, as I was talking about before. Tom writes in, "Hey Sammy, whoop 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 whoop." Not to brag, but I was at the last 3-hour Raw. That is a brag. As soon as Punk came out with the white pants and Drew in all black, yep, I knew this was a Shawn Taker reference. Then you and Megan talked about the Shawn Michaels reference on Punk's tights. Is Punk paying homage to Michaels in the WWE like Punk paying homage to Brett in AEW? Don't forget, Punk has worn Brett gear in WWE too. This is the first time I believe that Punk has paid homage to Shawn Michaels. And I just love that Punk, now that he spent time in NXT, is a Brett and Shawn guy. Punk has paid homage to, in the first run in WWE, absolutely. Yeah, he wore Brett gear in WWE. I think the Four Corners match. Maybe. But Punk has paid homage to Macho Man, Bret Hart, in WWE, before AEW. And now HBK as well. And he's paid homage to Undertaker. Remember when he wrestled the Undertaker and he wore the gray and purple? So I'm trying to think if there's any more email in, because I do love it when he does that. I get all the figures when he's got his special. I get all the figures anyway, but I get all the figures in his special gear. I loved it. Apologies, Andrew writes in, Andy from Springfield, if you have already covered this, but I am writing after watching the ending of Bad Blood. I'm perplexed as to what The Rock counting to 3 meant. Upon using my knowledge, let's see, when was this written? You didn't really have time to watch the emergency pod, I guess. Upon my knowledge of watching the product to speculate wildly, keeping in mind that everything counts, here's the best I've got. My best guess is The Rock was telling Roman 3 strikes you're out. Okay. You lost to Cody, you teamed with Cody, you helped Cody. Love this show. That's another one. That's a good theory, by the way. I still think he was just saying, hey, Roman, Cody, and Jimmy, I'm going to kill you guys. I'm going to murder you guys. That's what I think. But I think, yeah, because I don't think he's calling for a triple threat, because why would he want more people involved? Right? I think the triple threat is just going to happen. 3 strikes is an interesting one, and it was directed right to Roman. But I think there's 3 people in the ring. I'm going to end all 3 of you. Let's see. Looks like it's from somebody named Sam, which is one of the best names. He writes in, I acknowledge you, podcast tribal chief. I love you, podcast tribal chief. Hi, Sam. Hope you and the family are well. We're great. Thanks for the feedback a couple weeks ago. Quick, not so quick question. With the product starting to lean in a more nuanced direction, with more redefined storylines being told across longer periods of time and more nuanced character dynamics and relationship, you love your words, don't? I love words too. I'm not hating. Being introduced. Do you think we as fans are called upon to refine our comprehension of storytelling techniques? I've been noticing more and more frequently lately discussions in real life and online where the answers evidently boils down to it's deeper than that. Do you think we as fans have a duty to refine our palates, so to speak, to better enjoy the current product? Or do you think a more nuanced product begets a new, more refined audience? That's a great question. Thank you for all that you do, Sam, and keep on shaking and grooving. P.S. When do we get another Ask Sam Anything Part 2? People want another, another dose of hashtag ASS. It was Ask Sam Something, ASS. Well, we do that every week with the email segment, I think. Look, I think that the brilliance of a lot of what WWE at least attempts to do right now is they do tell this nuanced style. They do use this nuanced style of storytelling. But ultimately, they do it in such a way where they're constantly bringing people in. If you've been watching every minute of every show and paying attention to everything, there's a deeper appreciation of stuff. If this is your first night watching, you can still get what's going on. I think if it's not dissimilar to Marvel movies. If you go see the Avengers Endgame and it's your first Marvel movie, you're not lost. You're sitting there going like, that's a badass movie. But if you've seen every single movie, if you've watched all the Marvel series and every single episode, then you're the ones that are sobbing in the theater when, Spider-Man and Iron Man are having their moment. So I think that it's up to an audience member as to how deeply they want to pay attention to the show and how deeply they want to enjoy the show. But that's definitely something that I think about when I'm doing this podcast. It's almost like I watch so deeply, but I never assume everybody that's listening or watching this podcast watches that deeply. And my goal is to not exclude anybody from this show and to instead bring people in so that they all are enjoying on the same level that I'm enjoying, and that's kind of where I land on it. All right. Last question of the day. Let's see. Nick writes in, "Hey, Sam, first, I acknowledge you as my podcast tribal chief. Second, I seen you on the pre-show for Bad Blood, a ring, and that got me curious. Have you ever gotten the opportunity to be in the ring and get to run the ropes or take a bump of any kind?" It's not going to be my last question because it's about me, but I've been inside of a ring. I have ran the ropes. I have not taken a bump. It's amazing. It's amazing to be that close. It's amazing. Let's see. A lot of longer ones. Joe writes in, "Sam, I can't wait for you to shred this apart, but like you, I have feelings. Emergency podcasts are not equal to instant reaction podcasts. It's insane. Emergency pod should be done when, let's say, Brock shows up again. Instant reaction should be done when you want a quick feelings flood after a show before your Monday morning pod. Just the verbiage of it, I guess. Regardless, I'm still listening to all your stuff as you're the GOAT." Well, Joe, you acknowledging me as the GOAT goes a long way. You're 100% right, so you're not wrong about everything. However, emergencies are based on feelings. When there's an emergency, you feel, right? It's an emergency after Bad Blood goes off the air. It's an emergency. Oh my God, NXT was just on the CW. There's an emergency. Okay? These are emergencies. They will continue to be labeled as emergency podcasts. The siren will continue to blow, and we will all continue to have a great time. Make sure you're subscribed across all audio platforms. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're leaving comments, reviews, ratings, hitting like, doing the whole deal. And we'll see you later this week for an amazing interview that you're going to love here on Notsam Wrestling.